is the way. I am Steve.
Oh my God. What a bunch of pussies.
Jedi, this is what I've trained for.
All right, everybody, welcome to Daredevil Born Again, episode 3, because episode 1 and 2 have already come out. Today, of course, we have Ace back to talk more about Daredevil because we're both
How's
big
it
comic
going?
guys. But yeah, welcome. Welcome on in, everybody. But I'm just going to say it off the bat. This was a crazy episode. And yeah, it's going to get even better when we talk. So, where do you want to? Well, I guess we should start at the beginning. But where do you want to start off, Ace? What do you want?
I'll make a quick mention. Obviously, Skyrim was not able to follow us today. Do keep in mind that there will be spoilers in this review. So if you have not watched episode 3, click off right now, watch the episode, and come back to hear our thoughts. First and foremost, I mean, there's only one major spoiler to talk about in this entire show.
Yes,
possibly 2, but I will say that I did enjoy this episode for sure. The courtroom, the fact that this entire episode is based on in a courtroom was really nice. A different change of pace. The 41-minute time length, I don't know if it was for you, but it felt like 25 minutes for me. I had to watch the episode twice because of how quick it went. But I will say that this was a good episode, and there's a little bit to be talked about later on. I was surprised about the ending, obviously.
Yes,
but
that was a interesting ending. I mean, we'll say that because we'll talk about that more at the end. But I mean, first of all, of course, this is the main episode with the Hector Ayala storyline, or the White Tiger. This is him getting his court date and all that. But in the beginning of the episode, a van's rolling up into a pier, and then the two guys are driving the truck get asked for their license, their guns or wallets, whatever. And then they're like, who? And then the people in the truck, right? You know whose truck this is? It's like, bad mistake, boy. And the two people just shoot them. Because, well, the gangsters are going crazy because no one's leading them. Is the plot line of Fist this episode.
Yeah. Which I will say that, in my personal opinion, I don't think the Kingpin was really needed for this episode. Just because of a little bit of screen time that him and Vanessa had in this entire episode. I think that it would have been nice to see a little bit more of the White Tiger before the whole court thing, like to see how he got the amulet and stuff. But I mean, it was nice to see Vanessa and Fisk actually have a really good, deep conversation for about 2-3 minutes.
Yeah,
but necessarily, the whole gang violence in the episode was pretty typical. One guy not wanting to answer to Fisk, where Fisk's guy is like, well, I answered to him, so you better answer, kind of deal.
But basically, the thing you need to know is Vanessa's trying to keep the peace, and Fisk is like, well, I just want a little chaos. After chaos, there can come peace. Control chaos, and then can lead to peace. But so that's mainly Fisk's part of the episode. It's just Vanessa went behind his back trying to deal with the gang war, and he's like, well, hold on a second. I don't really want that. And can I even trust you still? That's Fisk's storyline. This episode. But let's get into Daredevil and the White Tiger, or I guess Matt and Hector, because and the thing I loved about this so much, Ace, I think you can agree with this. This whole story is basically Matt being a hypocrite.
It really is, because in the last episode that we had watched, Matt is like, oh no, you can't reveal him as the White Tiger. You can't do that. You know, you got to protect this whole secret identity kind of thing. And the thing that I was a little confused by that because when you go back to She-Hulk, when you go back to Daredevil in his own show, he's trying to protect other heroes and their secret identities entirely. And that's his whole motive as a lawyer as well for when it comes to heroes. So where he goes in this, I understand it was a power play move that he needed to do in order to get the jury to accept him.
Yeah, because
but now he's out in the open. People know who he is. This is the whole thing with Tony Stark. People like Tony Stark were able to defend themselves. Why? Because he's a billionaire and he has a ton of suits where if you try to break into his house, I mean, we saw Iron Man 3.
You're going to get blown up.
This is the White Tiger. This is...
Yes.
He's not as powerful as Black Panther, but he's a formidable fighter to begin with. I did like the connection between the two. I thought there was a lot of similarities between Matt and the White Tiger. But yeah, it was very interesting to see Matt Murdock play that. And I feel like there was a scene, I swear there was a missing scene in this from what it felt like to me where, or maybe it was a reshot scene where Matt and crap, I can't remember his name. The guy that's the White Tiger. I feel like there was a scene, Victor.
Where
him and Matt had discussed about, hey, I'm going to reveal that you're the White Tiger. It's the only way we're going to get the jury on our side. As much as I don't want to, it's the only way to get you out of prison. Do I have your consent? I feel like that was missing from this episode.
Yeah,
so it made Matt seem more of like, I don't know if anybody watched Suits. I don't know if you watched it, but not gonna lie, it seemed more like a Harvey Specter kind of play, and I like that from Matt Murdock, but it makes him a hypocrite in that entire sense of the word.
Well, I think the whole thing the show is saying is how jaded he's become to Daredevil, and then, but the thing is like, isn't it before he does that right after he goes back in and he's holding the little shard of the mask that Karen gives him.
Yeah, that was right after that scene. He happened to go back to the courtroom and he happened to rethink about his decision about doing that. And not gonna lie, I knew we were gonna see Daredevil within either episode 3 or episode 4, and it definitely seems like we're gonna see him in the suit once again for episode 4, and I'm super excited.
Especially after
that images that we got to see.
But especially after that image, not image, after that ending, I definitely think he is going to definitely show back up in the suit, but we'll talk about that later.
And I will make this comment. So, She-Hulk Attorney at Law, the only reason why I was looking for it because it was the first lawyer kind of show since Daredevil.
Yeah. And
I had watched Suits at the time, and I actually thought not only was it going to be a comedy show, it was also going to be a courtroom. They were going to be like cases and stuff for Jennifer to solve. That wasn't the case. This right here in this entire episode, that's what Jennifer Attorney at Law should have been. Besides the scene where they bring Matt Murdock and she gets destroyed in that courtroom. But I definitely liked the whole courtroom scene for certain. And I did like the emotional beats. But I think we kind of covered everything. So do we want to talk about that ending?
Well, the main thing I wanted to cover is that, well, of course, the witness lied to them because he was like an informant and he knew if he went against the cops, like he would be killed and all this too. And now we've seen that they have a lot of them have the Punisher skull. The skull on their wrist, so they're all kind of corrupt and kind of weird, evil, and there's the other thing as well where, like, we learned the backstory of what Hector was doing, why, like, he was getting the flowers to bring to his new house.
Yeah,
and he said, I finally saved up the money to get a new place, and and then I saw someone crying for help, and I wanted to help them, and that's how this happened.
Yeah,
And
all because it was for
it's
the right thing to do.
the right thing to do, right, man?
Yeah.
And they reveal that he's the White Tiger, and that it shows how many people he's helped, even the police. So and that's what gets him out of jail, or gets him free.
Yeah.
Is because but as we see at the end, that's kind of a double edge, because Matt is like, after this, you can't be the White Tiger anymore. You can't put that mask back on.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows who you are. And what does he flip do? He puts that mask back on, and one last time, he hears a woman crying for help, and then Ace, I'll let you say it.
So at the end of this episode, the White Tiger, who I was really looking forward to seeing in this show, and even in the last episode, I figured that we were going to get a team up between the three vigilantes in this show, being Daredevil, Punisher, and the White Tiger. Sadly, that is not the case, because at the very end, it is revealed that Punisher is the man who kills White Tiger on screen. Now, we don't see his face, but looking at set images, that is definitely Frank the Punisher. And I'm liking the new logo on it. I like the big skull on the chest. I like the new design, and not gonna lie, I was not expecting it. I was definitely shocked, and unlike Foggy's death, I didn't get as emotional compared to the White Tiger. I was kind of left with disappointment that they did kill him, but like we also discussed in the last episode, this does leave the room for the White Tiger to pick up for somebody else to pick up the White Tiger mantle.
Yeah.
And obviously they couldn't do much with him since the actor had passed away. But I will say that I was definitely shocked, and I was very surprised that they had the guts to kill him off on screen. For sure.
That's the thing, though. It's like, now this show, I mean, even the original did this, but especially this show, when you're teasing and showing things to be really big, and then this show is kind of like the Game of Thrones. Like, you don't know who's gonna die on any episode. Yeah. Anyone can just go at any moment now. You're like, oh, the White Tiger will help Daredevil later. Nope, he just dies. Sorry. Bye.
Yeah, and a part of me, the reason why I was majorly disappointed, just because of how easy the White Tiger went out at the very end. I would have liked to see a fight between Frank and the White Tiger, but obviously, I mean, Punisher, his whole thing when it comes to killing people is that he's very tactical, he's very smart, and he's very stealth-like a lot of times, but a lot of other times he is very aggressive, very much of a special ops soldier kind of person.
Yep.
So for a White Tiger to go out the way he did, I wasn't surprised that he did go out like that. But I definitely didn't think he was going to die this early on in the show. That's what I kind of wish we got a little bit more of him. I felt bad of how quick they killed his character off, but I mean, what you're going to do? I mean, yeah, it's like you said, the Game of Thrones, where everybody starts dying. You don't know exactly who's going to live, which is a part of storytelling that I do. Oh, okay. Here we go. Face cam get back on.
Oh, yeah. So, but yeah, like you were saying, like the Game of Thrones thing, like I said, and you were saying there, it's like, that's a great thing of storytelling. You just don't expect something to happen. I mean, in a way, I thought like maybe someone would try and go after him, but I did not think he would die in this episode. But that was shocking. And then Fisk he was a dangerous criminal and needs to be dealt with. And then that dialogue is overlaid with him getting shot by Punisher. So it's just like, dang.
Yeah, which we're getting the freaking Punisher back for the first time in 8 years next week. And I'm super excited about that. I'm really excited to see Punisher on streaming again. I'm looking forward to it for sure, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing more of him in the future because of his Marvel special show that's going to be coming out next year, which is apparently really dark.
Yes.
Unlike Daredevil and Werewolf by Night and Moon Knight as well.
Yeah, like I knew Punisher was gonna be dark, especially if they're doing it. And then if John Bernthal says it's dark, it's not Punisher light, then I'm expecting some crazy crap to go down. So.
Oh yeah, for certain. I'm kind of curious on what they're going to do with them. One thing I'm kind of I'm curious what they're going to do with the Punisher, and I wonder how different he's going to be compared to the Punisher that we got from Netflix. Probably not by much, besides the new costume, but I am expecting a little bit of a change up with Punisher going forth in the MCU.
Yeah, but the thing that we also know that we've noticed is that they had those Punisher skulls, and probably they were his people, but
Yeah.
also like those people weren't doing the best thing either.
Yeah.
So I wonder if
definitely
Matt's gonna tell him that, like, because they know each other. So I wonder if Matt will be like, "Why did you do that?" Like he was actually innocent. And
Yeah.
like they were beating up on him. They were trying to hurt him, and he was just trying to be a good person. Like, I guarantee. I want to see what Frank says when he gets confronted, because he's going to, and I can't wait. Daredevil versus Punisher is probably going to happen, but
that whole episode is going to be Daredevil Punisher, a very intense rooftop scene once again by those two.
Give us some rain. Give us some.
Yeah. Shoot, I'm actually curious what they're going to do with that. I wonder if Frank is going to realize that he's had too much influence on the cops, and that's why him and Daredevil are going to team up, is to take out these cops who are corrupted.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, I don't think it's going to be full on Daredevil versus Punisher the entire way through. I definitely think those two are going to play a factor in. I do also know that I can't remember the other villain that's supposed to be in the show. I do think he is probably going to make a cameo appearance next week as well, towards the very end. I'm assuming Bullseye might actually return as well for the episode.
Yeah, well, we do know one. We know the other villain because he's been in the show the whole time.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of the character though.
It's Daniel. It's Daniel, which is Fisk. Fisk is a man that gets him in contact with the reporter, the BB Ulrich.
Oh, that's not the guy I was thinking of. I was thinking of the guy who happened to go to the therapist. Who was the skinny kid.
Oh yeah, I think they're all playing a part somehow.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I can't remember his name. Someone might mention it in the comments, be like, "Oh, it was supposed to be this, you idiots!" Like, come on, you're supposed to be comic book nerds. Well, sadly, we don't know a lot of like D and E tier comic book characters.
I think it was I think Moosh. I think that's one of them. It's something like M, like Moosh or Morris.
Yeah, I know the guy. I know the character is like a sociopath. He has like a white mask with a black outlining, and he uses blood to paint his drawings and stuff of his victims. So, he might make an appearance. I'm expecting Bullseye to make an appearance next week. Probably in prison, or maybe he was freed out of prison or something. I'm waiting for them to follow up on that for sure. But yeah, I'm expecting some crazy action, some amazing dialogue from Punisher and Daredevil next week. And all in all, this episode was really good. I definitely did enjoy it. You know, you can definitely tell, like, when an episode is like 41 minutes and it feels like 25, but you gathered the whole information just like that, and you're like, wait, whoa, what happened? You definitely know that's a good episode, but it does feel a little rushed. I will say.
I think that's good, but I think also an episode that is that long, but it feels like it goes so quick, like you want more. That
Mhm.
was also like a good episode because it's like you didn't even like you like felt like you just blinked and it was but it wasn't. It was a longer episode, and
Mhm.
we still were just like, man, we want more, and that's what a new episode's supposed to do, leave you wanting more instead of less. And
Yeah,
and I think it I think it works out well. I think I see what they're doing a bit, and but this episode was definitely about Matt definitely considering Daredevil again and kind of being a hypocrite to Hector. Like the one thing I wish we could have gotten before Hector died is Matt to say I was Daredevil. I wish he would have said it, but I know he
yeah,
didn't. But I wish he would have told him
yeah,
like, "Hey, I am the I was this and that." And after the death of after everyone
yeah,
knows the death of his friend, but it's like after that event happened, like that changed me because it would show that Matt's struggling with that, and it you and that's why I love the intro. Like the cracks are showing, and then he
yeah,
reforms into a new Daredevil. That's what this is. So I'm
yeah.
excited for that.
Definitely next week, we're gonna see him get pretty emotional and pretty pissed off for sure about White Tiger dying. He's like, man, I literally just saved this guy, and now he's dead. Now I got to go find the guy who actually killed him. Like now, this community that White Tiger's no longer able to protect the city now needs someone else to help protect it. And I'm gonna have to put the boots back on. I'm gonna have to put on the mask with the horns on it and be the vigilante that I don't want to be. We're definitely seeing the cracks come into play, and I love that part of it. And I do like the fact that they mentioned Foggy and they do pay respect, and that he's still struggling with that a
Mm-hmm.
whole year later. But
But,
yeah,
but, but
I
he's
definitely think that this
finally.
episode was that turning. This episode and next week's episode is going to be the turning point for Matt to become Daredevil once again, for
Mhm.
sure.
But the thing is too is like that Matt is becoming happier and like he finally opened up about Foggy. Like
Yeah,
they said like she was like I was waiting for you to because she knew about it and she was a therapist as well. But
yeah.
but but seeing him progress is great, but also after hearing what happens to Hector, he probably will go a little Daredevil scream rage action.
Oh yeah, for sure. We're
But
definitely gonna see that.
because he because I've the thing is I think Daredevil or Matt saw himself in Hector and
Mhm.
was kind of get it trying to be like don't go forward with this again and trying to stop him from being White Tiger, trying to
Yeah,
destroy it all because he knows it could destroy his life. I a little too, but I see it as both like Matt is kind of a hypocrite, but also he's like like a self reflection type thing as
yeah.
well. He
He's
sees
being
himself.
hypocritical, but he's trying to protect others in the same sense as well. Um,
Mm, yeah,
but yeah,
but that's the good thing with storytelling is having a such a conflicted character and trying to understand their emotions, how they're feeling is like that's great.
yeah.
I love that stuff. So.
And this is where the MCU, I think, shines entirely because Matt Murdock, for a lot of people, is a very relatable character. Besides the fact
Mhm.
that he's blind and he puts on a devil costume and beats people up in the process because he learned from another blind guy to do boxing and ninjutsu and all this other stuff. I mean, he deals with real problems. And I think that's why a lot of people like him along with Spider-Man and a lot of the other characters. Honestly, I would say the only like we've had moments in the MCU when it comes to the Disney Plus shows where there's characters that where they'll say something and we're like right there. I relate to that entirely. Where Bucky is where we had that episode where Bucky and Sam had to do the therapy session and Bucky got pissed off at Sam being like because if he was wrong about you, he was wrong about me. And like because Steve gave him so much hope and fulfillment, and for Sam to not feel that same thing compared to Bucky, that makes Bucky think, oh, well, because he's not feeling this, and we were friends with the same guy, how come he's not feeling with it, and he seems to be okay, but also conflicted by it? Is there
Yeah.
possibly something wrong with me? And obviously, there's a lot of trauma that he's having to deal with as well in that. Stephen Grant, Mark, and Jake Lockley, in some ways, is a relatable character to a lot of people with a traumatic backstory, possible personality disorder, and being an introverted character. Unlike freaking Jennifer Walters, where I think a lot of people actually related to her in some way, shape, or form when it came to the online dating thing, but she was the worst one to relate to. Wanda, there was a lot of stuff that you could possibly relate to with some of those characters. But Daredevil, this is where the MCU shines, is where we can have stories like this and it actually moves us and it actually makes us sit back and think about certain things. And it just feels real. Like this is a real show and we can see stuff like this actually happening for certain. And
Yeah,
that's
but
what's so good about it.
also it's like the other thing is too is like that's also why people like, speaking of who's coming up next in the show, the Punisher, because the Punisher is a character that does things that what he actually does things that actual people want to do to these evil people, but
Yeah.
you can't do that in real life, but but like he goes out of his way to be like a vigilante and go against a moral code, just because he's like, no, there's evil people out there and they deserve to die, and that's like that he does it. It's just, I think that that's why Punisher's so relatable too, and
Yeah.
Daredevil, and because these characters sometimes have the way we think too, and
Yeah.
and I also like Spider-Man's so relatable. I mean, with the teenager or when he goes to adult, there's the trauma, the loss, the all this stuff that you could have with a
Yeah.
family complex. I mean, Uncle Ben losing family like that. It's just like that's the thing Marvel's great at when they can actually do it. I think they kind of lost that. Is they lost the character a bit with these newer things. They lost these things that make the audience feel for these characters instead of and they tried to push other things and not fully tell a character's story right, and that's what happened with She-Hulk. It just was stupid, and then other things too. It's just
Yeah.
but I really like this. This is more, I like grounded stuff, even though like they're jokey, little funny movies. The
Yeah.
Avengers and stuff are still serious. Like Tony Stark was like about to wanting to go and like kill everybody that would snap the universe away. Like like he was distraught. He wasn't joking at that time. He shut himself off from the world, and that's how we would react if we're like, it's over. Just it's over, but stop, because he just feels like there's nothing left. And I get that. It's just that's what the MCU did so well, and we're starting to see it again, which is what I'm very happy about.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that with a lot of the movies and shows, like I mentioned, with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, and definitely with Spider-Man. Spider-Man to me has always been a relatable character, just because I related to Peter Parker more of the Amazing Spider-Man issue of Peter Parker, where he is a nice guy, but he also comes across as an a-hole at times. He's smart, but he's also introverted. He has like this charisma with women, but can't bag anybody until MJ. And but I'm that's not the part that not
Yeah.
that part. I haven't gotten lucky until just recently, which was nice. But I will definitely say that Peter Parker is one of the most relatable characters. Punisher, I definitely relate to in some degree, knowing that I think that certain people deserve to be killed necessarily. Like I've always stated, like sort of, I don't know, like people in conversation being like, If someone's going to try to break into my house and harm me and do whatever, I expect something to happen with no hesitation, because it will happen. You come to my house and you hurt certain people of mine, then yeah, you're definitely going to get hurt. But I also think that, just like Daredevil's perspective, that some people do deserve a second chance, and there's always a cause and a reason to do it. And some of these people just don't choose to do the right thing. And that's why I like these characters so much. And that's why I'm really looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah.
Because we're going to see that once again.
Yeah. But it's like, and to me, I've always thought, in terms of Marvel TV, I like some of the Disney Plus shows. I'll admit, I've really liked them. In terms of like Loki, I really like Loki. I liked WandaVision.
Loki's good too.
I did like Falcon and Winter Soldier. I saw where people have problems with it, but I didn't find it as bad as some other people. It wasn't as bad to me as some people. But
it was just the timing of when that show released. It happened to be a very controversial political time. And I thought it was actually convenient that it got released at that time as well.
Yeah.
Like, all this stuff is happening. And of course, they're going to release the show. Honestly, Disney and Marvel could have released that show way later. They could have swapped the release dates with some of their projects just to avoid that, because that was a lot of controversy in that part. I kid you not, like me and my family, when that show came out, we didn't watch the rest of the show until after all that political drama was going down. Until all that was done, we did not watch that show. We didn't finish it. We couldn't make it through it because of the time where the show released. But we did end up finishing it, and we enjoyed it. There was definitely some parts that, we were like, oh, really? But it wasn't bad.
Yeah, and that's what it's like to me. It's like, and I feel like you can get into some stuff that has a bit of a darker theme and still talk about it. It doesn't mean this is the best story in the world. No, of course not. But it's just like, I enjoyed it for what it was, and I could see where some of the messaging was a little but whatever. But also, it's like, to me, it's like, I enjoyed What If for the most part, and some other things and I enjoyed the holiday special, the Guardians one, and other stuff. But to me, always the King of Kings of the TV was the Netflix stuff, and Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. And like, I liked Iron Fist too. I really did enjoy it on my first watch, because I went in with the like, I'm gonna hate this show. Everyone says it's terrible. I went in and watched it and thought it was good. So it's just like, sometimes I come out of things where I'm like, it's not as bad as people say. And if you go back and watch it, you're like, it's really not as bad as what they said. It's just, so that's what I feel. But it's like, I feel like there's been more good sometimes than what people actually say. But it's just where you get so wrapped. Sometimes this is also, in terms of like what we do here, Lego and stuff too. I feel like that's when you get some people get too far into the politics stuff, and then they cross it into media as well. Even though they're saying they're trying to keep politics out, they involve it as well. That's what I don't. I just like to stay clear of stuff and just enjoy the show for what it's doing, instead of trying to connect it to something here in the real world, or whatever. But it's all right. Sure. But I mean, also this one was just because of but they played around with some of the stuff with the law and the system and all that too with these episodes. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, showing that it is corrupted.
Yes.
Like one of the things that I liked about this is that not only does it go into the law and they're wanting to change certain things and want to bring the system back to what the system should be, they're also showing the corrupted side with it, with those Punisher cops as well. Showing that, while there's these people that have good intentions, these people that the police that are supposed to be there to protect us as well, you also have the ones that are very corrupted that will cross the line entirely. And that's the stuff that I like. That is the messaging that I like. I don't like the messaging where it is shoved in your face, pushed down your throat, and you're meant to feel guilty about it entirely. One of the reasons why I couldn't get into Falcon and the Winter Soldier until after all the political stuff was done and out of the way in the real world, to where I did go back and I finished it because I was invested in Sam Wilson and Bucky in that story. I was invested into that. But because of that, it was just getting shoved down my throat, making me feel guilty, making me seem like, oh, well, I'm a little piece of shit.
Yeah.
Entirely.
And sometimes I think some of the worst things for these projects, and thankfully, because Charlie Cox is smart, John Bernthal is smart, a lot of the actors behind this show are smart people.
Yeah.
They knew not to attack fans or nothing. Like, I heard nothing about the. All I heard was that the show's great. People are actually interested. The trailer looked good. That's all I heard about Daredevil. It looks good.
And there's no Fisk show. We don't need a Penguin Fisk show, which I did actually see that interview. And the guy that plays Kingpin in the show literally said that there's no reason to have Kingpin as getting his own show because Daredevil fits well with Kingpin. You have to have Kingpin and Daredevil in the same show. Otherwise, there's no point into it. And we know his backstory. Like, we know enough of him. So I think what they're doing here with the Daredevil show is great. And I'm really looking forward to season 2 and what they have going on in the future. But all these characters, they relate. Every single one of these characters relate in some way, shape, or form. They just have a different perspective in the world, where you have Kingpin, who was abused by his dad and lived a crappy life, and then went and did all this other stuff to make him, big tough guy, but I have all this crap down below. You have Daredevil, who's been through the same crap, but because of the fact of Hell's Kitchen and the Catholic Church that came in to help him, he let a lot of that pain and aggression go. And then with Punisher, if I remember correctly, his entire family died, right?
Yeah.
I think his wife, and I think he had a kid or something. Yeah, they all died. But because of the fact that he had nobody to help him, he went around killing a bunch of people until he met Daredevil. But he still went out killing a bunch of people. Kingpin has the mob boss mentality. Punisher has the get out of my way or I'm going to shoot you in the head. Daredevil is going to be the guy that gives you a bit of grace until you cross the line.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, literally. And I think that's why I like Daredevil so much. It's because until you do this one thing that I know that's going to piss me off and cross the line, the gloves are coming off, words are going to be said. And if we fight, we fight. I really don't care. But
I'm Batman. That's what happens. But even with happened to Bullseye in episode 1, Batman got so furious that Batman has gotten to the point he has killed before, and most people don't think about that, but he has. I mean, the whole point of the story, the Killing Joke, is him literally that's why it's so debated for years. Does he just laugh with the Joker, or did he kill him? But if Joker's laugh goes out, he kills the Joker. That's the point. Is Batman crossed the line finally because it got too far, and that's what happened with Daredevil too. With Bullseye, just threw him off the roof. It's he didn't care anymore because he's it went too far, and so. But that's what I love. But also the posters and stuff. This is also another thing. We say all this for episode 1 and 2, but cinematography, everything was on point. For how they were capturing everything in the courtroom, just showing how Hector felt. And bro, that the most shocking thing, they had it. You could have shot him from far away. No, they put the camera right in this man's face. You see a gun, and then poof, and just the blood just shoots on the screen. And that was visceral with what they did with his death. And so it's it's getting more and more what we know, more violent, it's getting more crazy.
Yeah, because that whole hallway fight that we got in the first episode, I thought that was pretty dang brutal to start off the show with. I was like, oh, okay, the gloves are entirely off with this. Kevin Feige totally gave them approval to go as much as Daredevil as they needed to be, and that's what they definitely showed. And yeah, next week we're definitely going to see that once again for certain, especially with the Punisher side. We're going to see a lot of blood and a lot of people dying.
Oh yeah,
I believe in the next 2 episodes.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But I think that is pretty much it for Daredevil Born Again episode 3. Hallowed Within These Halls is what it was called. But it was like, I think that's it because that was the main storyline so far.
Yeah,
And then we know John Bernthal, the Punisher, is coming next week. The one of the best characters. And this is the one thing: do not take away Punisher's theme tune, Disney. Don't do it. Don't do
yeah.
it.
And please, for the love of God, do not give him the swords. I know in the set photos he doesn't have any swords, but I know they changed them up at the comic books where they've taken away his guns and given him swords. Please, for the love of God, do not let this man use swords. At most, give him a knife. Just let him use knives and guns. That's all he needs to use, and maybe grenades.
Well, he shot White Tiger, so I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good, but I really don't want to see this man using swords at all. I'm really pissed at the fact that they did that to him in the comics.
Yeah, but that was when they were trying to be like that was years ago.
They were trying to be a little friendly
Okay.
with the Punisher, which you can't be friendly with the Punisher.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think that is it for Daredevil Born Again, episode 3. We will see you all next week for more Daredevil Born Again. Is there any final thoughts you want to say, Ace?
All I'm gonna say is that this episode was good. The fact that I had to watch this 2-3 times just to like compute with all of it, I definitely like this episode. It's definitely what She-Hulk should have been, for sure. I'm gonna give this episode a full on. I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 out of 10. I did like it. I wish we got a little bit more White Tiger in the show before they did kill him off. But that's all I gotta say for this. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below, guys. What did you guys think about the show? And don't forget to follow us on our own separate channels and on social media, where we will keep you guys updated about content that's going to be dropped. Not only on our own channels, but on the podcast as well.
Yep. But also, as I said, I'm going to give this a 9. Just thought it was really good. The only thing that takes a point away is that I wish there was more White Tiger. But all right, talk to you, everybody. See you next week for more Daredevil.
See you guys.
And peace.